you're the number one kid in your family, you want to get it all just right.
Or maybe you're a wrecking ball of energy, a feisty kid whose brain is quirky and bright.
Are you the quiet type who lives in your head now? Or are you off in outer space?
Could you be the kid they call the little brat? You just want in but no one gives you a place. You're a maze of mysteries and doubts. You're a maze of ups and downs and outs.
You're a maze of possibilities. You're a maze of extraordinaries.
And hidden in the zany maze that is you, I'll be blunt, there's a treasure that's worth the hunt.
Maybe you're the goofy, glorious one, full of fire and fantasy.
Are you the kind who likes to hold it all down? Your love is deeply rooted to the ground. You've got your faults for sure. Sometimes you feel just like a pile of manure. But join the club, that's how it is. We're all sloppy like a wet dog kiss.
You might think there's just no hope because you're a screw-up or a great big dope. Oh, my friend, this is the glory of being human. La 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 la
La la la la la.
We're full of pieces that don't seem to fit together, a jumbly mess of jubilee.
But there's a seed of something great in me and you. We're full of wonder, yes, it's true. We're a maze of mysteries and doubts, a maze of ups and downs and outs.
A maze of possibilities, a maze of extraordinaries.
And hidden in the zany maze that is you, I'll be blunt, there's a treasure that's worth the hunt.
You're a maze of mysteries and doubts. You're a maze of ups and downs and outs.
You're a maze of possibilities. You're a maze of extraordinaries.
There's a treasure that is hidden in you.
Yes, it's true.
You're amazing.
No, you're amazing.
I'm amazing?
And I'm amazing too. We're amazing.
I don't know what got into me. I was talking to my son.
I'm over here.
He's
You
over
can't
there.
see me.
About, life and stuff and thanks, Faith Gal. And what I wanted to talk about, and I realized that I just wanted to hear that song again because it makes me happy. That's the Mrs. Amazing and the Seed theme song. And yesterday, I found a space in my heart to go back to writing the next book in the series, Constance Charleston and the Bombastic Baffle Gab. You got to look those words up. And it was kind of a breakthrough for me because to show up on a page and makes everything come to the surface, to sit in front of a white page when I'm processing, kind of like sitting in front of a canvas. I was going to go and play with this yesterday. And then the distraction genie, hit home. Although I did have some important work I had to do. And But in the end of the day, showing up at that page and writing about that family was a big deal, and it was a hard thing to do because I've been avoiding it for a while. So I just wanted to play that because Mrs. Amazing and the Seed, you know, there's so much in there that God is wanting to pull out of me, and under the present conditions, it hasn't been an easy pull. I'm not going to lie, but I wanted to tell you what happened one day when I sat down to write, because I don't write by outlines. I just sit down and write and see what comes out. And this, I have to tell you, I want to read you a little bit about what came out one day when I didn't have any idea, no idea what was happening. The court hereby orders that decision-making authority over the education of Constance, Charleston, Chance, and Chief Folsom be awarded to the state. They would be placed in separate temporary facilities until they can each complete the social realignment program. The words were like a slab of granite slamming down on top of a dark, cold hole inside of which Faye and Frank were trapped with no way to get out. They simply could not believe it was true, but it was true. In the months that had followed the horrid Busy Birders garden party debacle, investigators from the GUP, the grown-up factory, invaded the Folsom home and uncovered the extent of the family's dangerous beliefs and practices. The investigators reported back to the Developmental Wellbeing and Life Skills Assessment Committee, the Dowell SAC, and the committee, along with the factory facilitators, determined that the free-flowing, curiosity-driven, educational style of the family was wholly inadequate in preparing the Folsom children for real-world workforce demands and relationships. Furthermore, the committee was horrified by the otherworldly and imaginative experiences that Faye and Frank Folsom had fostered in their children. The family's commitment to their belief and wonder was far worse than they could possibly have guessed. And so in the book, the kids get taken away from the parents. Like the worst fear. This book goes into the dark and causes the reader to face a worst fear scenario. And I think that sometimes that's where you got to go. We talked a lot about that. Hey, Juan Marcos.
Sorry, yeah. I was just eating.
I was just eating. So
just
here
doing normal life things.
Yeah.
Not writing amazing books and all
yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
Although, I mean, amazing music, right?
Thank
and
you.
so it was funny. Hey, Greg. Do you know Greg? I got kicked out of my scope yesterday, right in the middle of it. Yeah, no fun. In any event, the book, in writing the book, and which I got back to doing some writing yesterday, which was scary, shows up right in chapter 10 of this book like a major worst fear. What happens when the authorities come and take your kids away and send them to social realignment programs? The Committee of the Developmental and Wellbeing and Life Skills says your imaginative education style is wholly inadequate for preparing your children for real life workforce demands. We must take them from you and conform them to the prescribed order. Yeah, so this family faces that moment, and the funny thing was, as an author, I sat there and wrote, and I was like, I wonder what's going to happen, and then, no, and I was so upset. The kids got taken away from their parents. Deleted you again? Oh, yeah. The face Nazis. You know, so it's something that it's interesting to go and sit down and face worst fear in a writing or whatever. And that's what happened to me. And then they get taken away. And the funny thing was, like, I was like, God, what's going to happen to them? And this is really terrible. In fact, when I read this book, this chapter, I read it to my daughter, and she was like, oh, really? I mean, it's like one of those gulpy experiences. And then I had to sit and stay in that crisis with them and face it with them and figure out what's going to happen next and how are they going to get out of it and how is it going to all. And you know what? Sometimes that feels a little bit like life right now. Like I have to stay in this place where there's so much uncertainty and perhaps a worst fear we're facing, right? You know, right now, corporately, facing worst fears and looking and staying present in the page as God writes the story, and it's amazing what comes out of over those circumstances. And so I think the process that I've been going through just in the last 24 hours is allowing myself to be there so that God can write the story through me, even though it feels like my heart is in my throat, even though it feels like there's so many things that feel uncomfortable right now. And the reality is that feelings are not fact necessarily, and they're not truth. And that's one of the things we talk about here, and work through and realize, it really doesn't matter how I feel, because it doesn't change the truth of who I am, where I am, what God is doing in me and through me and for me. What do you think, Shamar?
I agree. I agree. She's smart.
Oh, let's kiss up to the mom figure, shall we? Shall we? So, in any event, I am doing a lot of the same things that you guys are doing right now. Hanging in, hanging on, looking up, staying focused, and watching a lot of conspiracy theory videos. Right.
Hold fast.
Hold fast. Hold the line, right? And we are amazed. And this is the thing I like about this song. We're amazed of possibilities. We're amazed of incredibilities, of ups and downs and outs. And it's the maze of our lives that winds up being the amazing. In this book, the thing it's interesting when I wrote the book is that Mrs. Amazing in the Seed, I got the title first. And by the way, this is for kids 10 to 14 and a great read along with parents. And it teaches plant biology and how God created male and female and all those kind of good things. And the thing that is interesting is that there's no place in the book where you get an idea of why it's even called Mrs. Amazing in the Seed until the very end, because it's about a very flawed mom and her best efforts to help her kids and to show up, but she's so flawed, and she's just so passionate and vulnerable and available, and she tries so hard to do all the right things. But what happens is you see all the kind of little warts and cracks in this family, and their ups and downs, and they're called the Falsum family. Why? Because they got some faults. So the Falsum family have Faye Falsum and Frank Falsum, and Constance Falsum is the oldest one, who is, the type A, do everything perfect. Then there are the twin boys, Chance, who likes to blow things up just to see how they work, and Charleston is the moody, nerdy guy, cello player, artist, introvert. And there's little Chief. He's the boss of the family. And then there's Cornelius, the hound dog. And this is Ms. Beasley. She's the head facilitator at the local grown-up factory, where they take all kids in and they destroy their imaginations and teach them they must conform to the prescribed order. And this book is about a really imperfect family that has a lot of love, and they pull together with all their idiosyncrasies and weird things, and they're so different. They're on the radar of the grown-up factory people who have it out for them, and eventually the kids literally get separated from their parents because the system wants them. And it's about this maze of personalities and this maze of ups and downs and imperfection and passion, and how these parents really want to the one thing they want to give to their kids more than anything is the accessibility, the access, the potential portal to the world of wonder. And I'll read you the back jacket. At a time when belief in anything out of the ordinary is not tolerated, Faye and Frank Falsum are daring to be different, determined to guide their 4 free-spirited children on a risky quest to enter the mysterious and mystical realm known only to them as wonder. They attract the malicious attentions of the sinister Ms. Imperia Beasley, director of the local grown-up factory, where helpless children are conformed to the prescribed order as their imaginations are crushed. When one of Faye's wacky schemes to help her kids discover wonder precipitates a predicament that threatens to tear their family apart, a bold act of belief catapults the Falsums into a bizarre and often comical world in which they experience a strange and overwhelming life force. Just when they begin to understand its compelling beauty and power, the family learns they must return home to face a heartbreaking crisis, a crisis that may result in their teenage daughter losing wonder forever. And so this talks about this process, and it's so real right now. I mean, I'm almost afraid to write because in the book that I'm writing right now, it is all about propaganda. The last book was about science. The first book, Constance and the Battle for Wonder, which was the first offshoot of this for a little bit younger age, was about bullying and fitting in, and Constance going into the school system and being different, and finding friends, and whether she's going to go dark in order to fit in there. Then the next book that I finished earlier this year is called, Constance and Chance and the Big Bang Backlash. And that's where Chance sets off a big bang, I mean a literal big bang, in the school science fair because he wants to prove there's a purpose. And he goes to Wonder and he brings back the elements to actually recreate the Big Bang. But actually what he does is he doesn't do it exactly right, and he creates a black hole. So, but that book is all about purpose and intelligent design. And this book I'm working on, Constance and Charleston, the other twin, and the Bombastic Bafflegab, is all about the use of words and propaganda. And in this book, what's going to happen is the people in the town are going to be forced to wear glasses to keep them safe. Because if they see too much color, it might be dangerous. That storyline kind of gets me right here. Because it's a lot of that same conformity. Forced to wear something because it might be dangerous for you to actually breathe and see people and interact. And so my books go deep and they're hard-hitting, and sometimes it's hard, and I don't know about you, but I think when I don't feel the equilibrium and the safety, sometimes I just don't want to I don't want to be vulnerable. And I don't know if any of you are struggling with that in your relationships right now, and maybe this is just sort of a heart-to-heart today about being an amazing person in a scary time. An amazing person means a maze of ups and downs and outs of what you're going through and how you're working through in your humanity with the power of Christ in you as you work out your salvation with phobias and traumas, as the scripture says, fear and trembling. And for me, when there's a lot of disequilibrium, the thing that is the hardest for me are the quiet intimacies. To open my heart and say, and open my heart to the canvas, open my heart to the page, and feel the story coming. To open my heart in relationship where there's really a level of vulnerability and commitment. Bless my husband's soul. He's so patient with me. But I'm a positive person. I'm a happy, a upbeat person. I'm always doing something. I'm getting up and making the world a better place, taking on important risks, ministering, doing things, stretching myself. But there's a part of me that becomes really inaccessible when there's a safety issue. And it's a little kernel of who I am and where I live that I just close off and I say, no, I don't think anybody's going to get that. I don't think the canvas is going to get it. I don't think the music's going to get it. I don't think the page is going to get it. And I'm not sure that even my closest loved ones are getting in there right now because it's all tightened up. It's kind of like the seed. Did you know that seeds are actually embryos? And this is what I learned when I wrote this book, because the Lord gave me the words, Mrs. Amazing and the seed. And I had I had no idea why. Who was Mrs. Amazing? Why was she amazing? And what was the seed? And as I wrote the book, I had to research seeds. And what I found out was that seeds are embryos. They're actually babies. They're already fertilized. When a seed is created, it's fertilized, and life is in it. and there's a generation, a creation of new life within the seed, and the endosperm and everything around it kind of surrounds it, and then it gets a seed coat that protects the life like a womb, right? And it stays dormant until it's expelled into the earth and the right conditions awaken it. But seeds are living tiny beings that are just sleeping. And sometimes I feel like that. I got my seed coat and I'm all snug as a bug in a rug and I'm alive in there somewhere. And I think one of the things and so I can, and I'm sharing from the heart because maybe you'll understand and maybe you'll feel this is the fallout of living in a situation where there's so much disequilibrium and things that trigger an inherent sense that you're not safe, like it's a big, huge, bad, scary world out there. And one of the things that is subtle is how it will affect the intimacy in your relationships. Am I speaking at all any truth to y'all's? Is this making any sense? Where you just kind of, now there's two kinds of people. Maybe you just want to get with your loved ones and you just want to throw yourself down and ask for a hug and tell them how sad you are, and get people to cheer you up and stuff. Not so much me. I kind of pull in, go in my seed coat and like wait for the conditions to change so I can go ollie ollie oxen free and come out of my seed coat. And I think that's important to know. And I think that in a way that my walk with God can be like that. For me, intimacy is analogous of writing and singing music, writing stories and painting are all forms of intimacy to me. They mirror my walk with God and they mirror my husband. My husband has been one of the biggest shaping tools in God's economy to take me out of my desire to be that sea anemone and just pull right in and hide there. And I'm very, in fact, sea anemones are probably a really cool analogy because under the ocean, some of these creatures, they're very colorful and fun and wiggly and interesting and, attractive. But boy, when they're afraid, they pull right in. And sometimes people like that. I'm glad this is making sense because I'm like, what am I even going to show? I almost thought about not even doing a scope today because I'm not, I'm not as focused as I would like to be. But some of us, and it's interesting, Greg maybe relates to this because, when he's doing his scopes, he's Mr., fun, interesting, and, Greg's cool turn of the phrase is always saying something in a way that you don't expect him to say. He's encouraging people, and he's very phosphorus, He's got that kind of shining thing, right? But it's got, like, there's the pull-in when you're done, when you have to. So what I'm finding is that one of the outlays, one of the costs of this season that we've been in since November 3rd is that I've slowly in and been hiding in my little seed coat. But externally, and I think this is good because it's important to have a life of obedience. So the obedience to show up and do these scopes, the obedience to have people at our table and minister to them and do some good work and do some work in the town and, the activism we need to do, the prayer and intercession. But what I've learned is that I can be very big on the outside, but you aren't going to get in here necessarily as easily as you might think. And I think that can affect our walk with God. And it was interesting, I was listening to Praying Medic, who's kind of been ticking me off because don't we want our people to always be on the forefront telling us how, it's going to be okay? Coming out real strong. Yeah, come on. And thank God for the ones who have. Thank God for the Hank Kunnemans and the Kat Kerrs and the Johnny Enlows. And, I'll think of some others later, saying, no, don't back off. but sometimes, you know, we develop this dependency on those strong people, and when they shift, right, you know, we want to go, no, that's not fair, you know, don't move the thing. And I think he mentioned something that in one of his scopes recently that he did that really resonated with me. It was a simple thing. Mary Murillo pulled back too. Oh no, he's been strong. I know. You know what? I gotta say, Mary Murillo has really been a good barometer for me in one sense, because he's all about repentance, get right with God, don't, you know, blow smoke up anybody's shorts. And yet, in the last few months, he was able to see how our 45 fits into God's plan, and to step on that bus, which is awesome. And yeah, healing from a very deep wound caused by betrayal, more relationships called. Yipes. Well, all I can say is, even that wound is something you are going to completely overcome. And you need some inner healing, probably need some emotional healing from that. And I think you, yeah, we do have to stay positive. But you can be positive and be very well shielded and not very accessible to other people, right? And so Praying Medic said that, you know, you should just really get close to God. And I was like, oh. I mean, he didn't even say it in a really interesting way. You know, it's just a good time to get close to God. And I was like, well, that's not really why I listen to you, dude. It's not really why I tuned in to hear you say that, to be honest with me. And he just said it in a basic little, you know, it's just good to get close to God right now. And afterwards I thought, you know, it really simplifies down to that, close to God. Ooh. And when I go into those places, what will I find? There's vulnerability there, right? There's maybe some grief there. Maybe there's some emptiness, not that he's not everything, but that I go and I'm not gonna try to make stuff happen and try to, well, you know, the angel came and, you know, then I saw this and then he said that. You know, it's been kind of quiet. I haven't been getting lots of words from God about that kind of stuff. And so there's a vulnerability. And I just want you to be aware that that's part of the maze of being you, is being able to discern when you're in your seed coat, when you've pulled back. And being able to be real about that, and to let God meet you there, and to be intentional when the water comes, even a little bit of it, when the heat comes and the moisture of that soil you've been planted in gets to the right temperature and that seed coat begins to melt, to soften. It's important to be ready to emerge into what God is giving you to do. So yesterday I felt hope. I don't know what it was. I really don't know. It was a strange time of the day, because I sort of felt like, well, if I'm going to write, I should get up early before my positive mental attitude is too far gone, and get to that page and just really write. And I haven't wanted to. I have not wanted to at all. And yesterday at about 4 o'clock in the day, which is a little bit late for me, very late for me to start that kind of work, I had hope. I felt hope. There was some warmth in my day that just said, the sun will shine again. It was a palpable sense, and I was invited into intimacy, invited into a little space where I was beginning to emerge in some creativity that involved vulnerability and involved being aware of my personal fragility, even though in Christ, right? Always in triumph. It's that maze of being human, right? It's that maze of being this and that and that and that and that all at the same time. And so I went to the page and I began to write about Charleston needing to start a kid's paper. He finds a dictionary and realizes that the power of words can control the world. And he begins to look words up, and he begins to find out what they mean. And then he begins to realize that if words are misused, they can bring the people into slavery, essentially. And so he says, you know what I need to do? I need to create a paper so the kids in our town can freely say and think what they... And it comes on the heels of the previous book where his brother has set off a big bang that turned into a black hole. And they all get driven to the edge of the black hole and something happens. A love rescues them, the whole town, from being sucked into a black hole. And they experience wonder. They get pulled back from the black hole. And now all the kids in the grown-up factory and the teachers and the whole town is like, what was that? Is there more? The prescribed order never told us about this. Wow. They told us we were just cogs in a wheel. Just the processes of millions of years. Pointless life. Just do your job. Conform. And now they have questions. And now they're seeing things they never saw. And they're thinking thoughts they never had permission to think. And this book is the follow-up to that. And the Bombastic Bafflegab book. And now they're thinking things that are a threat to the prescribed order. And the powers that be want to tell the people what they have to think about what they've just experienced. They have to determine for them what the story will be. They can't allow them to think and experience and process the reality of the love and the wonder. They have to redefine it for them and control the narrative in the town. So Charleston says meanwhile, here's a kid who sees and knows, and he realizes he's got to start a school newspaper. So you see there's a big tectonic fight coming up over who controls the words. And if it's safe to experience wonder and see color, is it safe or is that a threat? And how do we control people and keep them from seeing? Wow, it's a lot. So for me to show up in the midst of that story kind of brings home some heartthrob moments over the last year. And it gets into my seed coat. So what's the point? I just want you to be aware that you're probably coping in some beautiful ways. You're probably praying more than I am, and you're probably interceding more than I am, and maybe you're doing even more scary things than I try to do in a week. And maybe you've got some external things right, but don't miss the fact that you might be deeply pulled in, that you might be a temporary introvert. You might be hidden away somewhere, and it might be hard for you to be vulnerable in the intimate ways now, in the relationship ways. And keep doing the scary things, keep doing the extroverted things, keep going out and pushing past the stupid limitations and the control mechanisms and the mask. Go keep pushing back and keep doing that and keep showing up where you have to show up and doing all that stuff. But be aware that permanent introvert. So you might even be more. But introverts have deep intimacy. It's just they may not talk about it, right? Introverts can have very deep intimacy and very productive, creative lives, right? Producing and output a lot of it. But you're probably not going to talk about it in this, or need to be around a bunch of people to experience it. But be careful, be aware as an introvert If your quiet place, if your secret place is a place right now where you can blossom, where you can begin to emerge. Are you able to emerge in the quiet place? Are you able to emerge in those intimate moments with God? Are you able to emerge in your relationships, one-on-one, perhaps even, are you walled off in some form of self-protection on a real quiet inner level? It's important to pay attention to that. Yeah, cautious who you let in, absolutely. I just want you to have an awareness that when there's so much going on, there's worst case level stuff happening in the earth around us, that yes, they have an incredible inner world, deep world. I think that that it's important to take an inventory, and it's important to welcome the what's the word? Drawing out of the Lord, the drawing you into Himself, the closeness He wants to have with you. That's not just the intercession and the prayer and the this and the Bible study. The inner, come to me, deep here, into the safe place, and open again into some of those things that are hard for you to do in a highly unsafe feeling environment. The inner things, the connections with others. And when you feel that hope, because He comes, the God of hope, right? And He comes to rescue us, and He comes to awaken us. I really, really resonate with the Sleeping Beauty fairy tale, because I was a soul sleeper. I was so numb to everything because of the way things rolled out for me as a kid, that I was, on the outside, extroverted, but on the inside, asleep, numb, and dead. And God had to come and kiss me awake. And there were so many things grown around me, so many protective vines and things, like in the Sleeping Beauty movie. And so I think that He's coming to wake us up. He's coming to call us to Himself. We do need to be close to Him more than we have. We do need to have that place, because when it's all is said and done, and when the last post is posted, and the last, prophecy is posted, and the last, video of the day, and the last, the military's coming, and the arrests are coming, whatever it is, and the thing, I feel it here. I feel what I lack here. And so let's welcome Him in to that place. And, this has just been a little odyssey about some of the things I go through to show up. And you know what they are for you. And you know the things that everybody thinks maybe you're fine, but you kind of know in your heart where you've been hidden away. And let's invite God to warm us up. And Lord, I just want to thank You for Your hope and the warmth. There's something about when you feel the sunshine on your shoulder that is so comforting and so warming and so calming and confidence building. And Lord, some of us are hidden away in little shells right now, shell shocked in a way by occurrences around us, nationally and international. And we're little and enemies. We're hidden in and pulled in. And we're doing a lot of good things. But Lord, would You come to the secret space and the inner space and pour the warmth of Your light and the soothing nature of Your Spirit that waters us and softens us, Lord, and be merciful and gracious to us, Lord, so we can step into that closeness with You that we're so desperately needing, and those intimate, close moments in communion, in creativity, and in relationship with those key people around us, God, that we need so very much to call us into authenticity in life. God, we ask You now to awaken us, to draw us out, and to put your hand on our hearts, Lord, in this hour. And we just thank you, God. That can be some of the scariest thing, like go do something that scares you. I think I just might, right now, go do some more writing. And I'm staring at this canvas. I'm like, you know. And then there's relationships I have to, you know, really draw into that I'd rather hide from. Oops. All right, you guys. Love you. Appreciate you. And I'll play Joy one more time for you because I'll play Emergence. This is perfect. My son's song, Emergence. Let's do a little emerging together. I love that song, Emergence, from the Meditations album by my son. I just want to say one last thing. I am doing one-on-one coaching sessions with people. So if you're interested in doing life coaching with me, you can go to subscribestar.com/Julie Lavender and sign up. And we can do life coaching together. Let's do life together, okay? Talk to you soon.